and one is yet to come. Now that one we don't have any hang-ups over that one, because it ends it here is I lost it, and when he comes, he must remain a little while. So that one has a very short time span. Now, in all truthfulness, Antiochus Epiphanes only had control of both of Babylon and Israel for about a year. Okay, but he's in the past. So when this is written, if he had been in the future, we could have done that, but it doesn't really matter anymore because he's part of the 5. Titus held Rome for a good while, and then the one that's to come will only remain for a short while. And we know that's basically going to be the Antichrist. So the Antichrist must come to authority. He must have control over Babylon. That's where his throne is going to be basically. And he must have the covenant with Israel. That what he has essentially has control. It's political control, but it's control nonetheless. A lot of, like when Nebuchadnezzar had control of Israel, he took them out. I mean, he might have had soldiers there, but he did not dwell. He did not move into Israel and take over the promised land. He took them back. Daniel, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, they went back to Babylon. They lived in Babylon. And they took slaves. They slaughtered a bunch, and they took the rest as captives, as slaves. So Nebuchadnezzar didn't move in and take over the land. And every time one of these people took over the land of Israel, Israel became a desolate place. Nothing would grow because the land was allotted the time to rest from the lack of Sabbaths that it was given. Whenever the Israelites, the Hebrews, did not honor the Shemitah year, every 7th year, the Sabbath year, God let them do it for so long, they said, okay, you're coming out. And the land will rest. So even whenever Israel was taken out, the land was allowed to rest. It was never occupied until the Palestinians, really occupied until the Palestinians moved in. And they're going to be out of here soon anyway. And if anyone online listening to this, I'm not a Palestinian hater, but the land is not for them. And if you've made it this far in my teaching and you disagree with that, you should not be listening to me. A cool thing about these people, these rulers, who 5 that were, 1 that is, and 1 is to come, they'll have one similar strategy. They will all use religion to enslave and indoctrinate the people. It's a common theme, Even with Titus, he moved the Sabbath to Sundays, from Saturdays to Sundays, a lot of these guys had religion. They intertwined their pagan religions in with a lot of stuff. Now when the Christians were released from their persecution, and Titus started to mix in the pagan stuff in with Osiris and all those other Roman gods in with the Christian gods, and the Christians were just letting it happen all willy-nilly. No one even cared anymore. No one checked it out and said, and granted they didn't have a nice little Bible like we have now, but still, come on. The apostles, they were pretty hard after it. They were teaching people left and right, Yeah, and they got tired and they went along with it, and it got corrupted along the way. Verse 11, the beast which was and is not is himself also an eighth head, and is one of the 7, and he goes to destruction. So he's an eighth, which means he is a separate entity, but he is also one of the 7. So he's a 7th and an 8th, which is kind of weird. It's basically to say he's the 7th of the 7. He's an 8th because he is one above the rest. He is the last, he is the final king who will ever have control, rule Babylon, and have control of Israel. He's it. So the 8th is basically to say he's the 7th out of 7. The 8th is basically to say he's also 1. He is 1 separate. Okay? Because the beast only has 7 heads. So he's a head that you can see, and he's 1 you can't. Almost like the 1 to rule them all kind of thing. There's 1 ring to rule them all, 1 ring to, yeah. Okay? Sorry, I went there. Little Lord of the Rings for you guys. All right, verse 12 and 13. The 10 horns which you saw are 10 kings who have not yet received a kingdom, but they receive authority as kings with the beast for 1 hour. These have one purpose, to give their power and authority to the beast. This is basically a short, to sum this up, these two little verses right here, is that the 10 kings will be given power for a set period of time. They're just horns. What does a bull use a horn for? To ram you, poke you, pierce you, run you off, whatever, okay? It's their weapon. These 10 kings are 10 horns. They're no different. They're just weapon. One's an M16, one's an AK-47, one's an M4 carbine, one's a P90, one's an MP5. I mean, they're just weapons. That's all they are. Why does the Antichrist allow there to be 10 kings instead of being king over everything? Why does he allow there to be 10 kings? Any guess? How many countries are there in this world? Nations. 200 plus? Across the globe? I think it's actually more than that, but I honestly don't know. What's easier to run, 10 men or 200 nations? Huh?
Kind of like each one gets a set amount.
He can have this one run these 4, this one run these 50, this one run these 400, or, this 70, and then he can just, have, 10 report to me. Just delegates down authority. That's what he needs. That's what he wants them for. Plus, he can be like, you're going to be the bad guy. I'm going to be the hero. This is what I want you to do. If they hate somebody, they're going to hate you. You report to me. But I still look good. It's politics even in the Bible. I mean, even at this point in time, it's going to be politics. It's going to be crazy. And the only reason he actually allowed, because could he do it? Yeah, he could. He set little governors, That's what they did back in the day. A king had his kingdom. And he had his gentlemen. Fascinating thing. I thought this to somebody the other day. Can either of you give me a description of a gentleman? Do you know what a gentleman is?
5'3". He goes and he takes care of things for one above him.
Nope. That's not what a gentleman is. No? Okay. A gentleman is someone who owns land. Landowner. That's it. That's all a gentleman is. The technical definition of a gentleman, when the word was first originated and used, a gentleman. When you call someone a gentleman, you were not saying anything about their character. You were giving a descriptive term. He's a gentleman. He owns land. How much land? He's a little gentleman, big gentleman. I don't know how they might have done that. But a gentleman was a descriptive term of what he possessed, not the kind of person or moral character, upright standing that he had. When they used, the word got twisted because when they said you should be more of a gentleman, it was maybe you should act more like a gentleman should. A gentleman was a man who had land. If he had land, he had money. If he had money, he was educated. He acted a certain way. He used his salad fork for his salad and his steak fork for his steak and his steak scissors to cut his steak. And he had utensils for everything because he was an educated man. And because he was educated, he felt he was compelled to act better than anybody else. It had nothing to do with him being a good person. But the word got changed because they're saying he acts as a gentleman should. The words changed. Many of the words that you'll come across today, if you actually go back and look them up, they don't mean diddly squat for what we use them for. If you called me a gentleman, I'd be like, I am not. I don't own no land. God hasn't given me none yet. I plan on having a 4x4 where I'm putting my cardboard box. I'll get to heaven, Hopefully it's bigger than that, but, at the very least, I'll have a 4x4 cardboard box. I plan on worshiping God pretty much most the rest of eternity anyway. I won't have much need for a mansion or a box or a gold-plated cardboard box. That'd be awesome. Sorry, I digress. I'm going to go to your boxing. I'm sorry, God. Bluebell or Go Bug. Come on. Yeah, we're in trouble. Here's a can. It's made of gold. You'll love it. Anyway, the objective for these 10 kings is so that Antichrist will have something to absorb and absolve when he does not need them anymore. Plus, we know that 10 will get whittled down to 7, but that's irrelevant for this point. We've already covered that. Verse 14. This portion is called the victory of the Lamb for the remaining part of it. In verse 14 it says, and again, we're talking about the 10 kings, or the kingdoms, or the kings, yeah. These will wage war against the Lamb, and the Lamb will overcome them, because he is Lord of lords and King of kings, and those who are with him are the called and chosen and faithful. Excuse me. I don't think that verse needs any explanation. I really don't. Basically, the 10 kings are going to come against Christ, and they're going to fail. Not that we didn't already know this, but it's kind of like affirmation. You know, it's God saying, hey, don't worry about it. I got this covered. Yeah, right? Verse 15, and he said to me, the waters which you saw where the harlot sits are peoples and multitudes and nations and tongues. And the 10 horns which you saw and the beast... Oh, hang on. I'll come back to that. So, back to the waters part again. Okay? We said the harlot was basically the false religion. Okay? The New Age religion. The umbrella that everything's under. She's like a wife, but she's not a wife. She's a whore. She's a harlot. Her one thing she cares about is what she cares about. She wants to take the husband from her wife. Not because she loves you, because you're money to her. You have a purpose and value. And she doesn't care about your own moral standpoint, or your commitment to God, or the man's commitment to his wife. Hooker don't care, as long as she gets paid. As long as she gets out of you what she really wants, there's the only thing she really cares about. She wants to use you. This is no different. This harlot, this new religion, is going to be, honestly, I don't even know how it's going to be like. It's not something I can really fathom. The whole world standing under one religious banner. Granted, it's all the religions combined, but I can't even imagine what it's going to be like. I really can't. It goes beyond my ability to comprehend how it's going to work. It is sickening. But you know what? Anything that's not of God is counterfeit. This harlot is no different. It's a counterfeit wife, a substitute. And talking about it, did you ever think about how prostitute sounds a lot like substitute? A prostitute is a substitute. It's kind of weird. The similarities of those two words, because it's what a harlot, it's what a hooker, a prostitute is. Prostitute is a substitute. It just kind of makes sense. I don't know if that's how God put it in our minds, the way root words would all come out, and it just does it just happen? No. I don't think anything just happens. And one way or another, I think God controlled it to, if for no other purpose, He might do it just so that we would talk about it. That's the only reason. If it affects one soul, why wouldn't He do it? It didn't have to affect the whole world. But I can't be the first person to come to make that realization that a prostitute is a substitute and the words sound alike, and that's true. That's what they are. There are no coincidences. Verse 16. And the 10 horns which you saw and the beast, these will hate the harlot and will make her desolate and naked, and will eat her flesh and will burn her up with fire. For God has put it in their hearts to execute His purpose by having a common purpose, and by giving their kingdom to the beast until the word of God is fulfilled. The woman whom you saw is the great city which reigns over the kings of the earth. In this, we have come to a point. The harlot has been identified as Babylon. But what did I tell you Babylon was? It was a city. It was a spirituality, a spiritual state of mind. And it was a way that it's a perversion of